Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Eye on Icon. As always, I have my co-host with me, Icongrapher. How are you today?
Not too bad. The last couple days, or at least early this week, were a little rocky on the markets front. Uh, the price of ICX went a little lower than I like to see, but it looks like it bounced off pretty nicely, and everything seems to be moving in the right direction again. So that's the nature of the bull market. It doesn't always go straight up, but when it does go down, it usually bounces back pretty quick. So it's certainly nice to keep seeing that, and we continue to march on upward.
Agree, love a good bounce. So today we have on the show Brandon from Foundry Box Media. Brandon has worked on their team have worked on a few little pieces or big pieces for the Icon ecosystem, but the particular project that the team is working on at the moment that we have him on the show to talk about is BountyCat. I know you've
Yeah,
done a
this
lot
is
of.
a
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, this is a project that's been kind of on my radar for a little while. It's been floating around there for since at least last year. Actually did a deep dive on it and wrote an article on it for Icon Spotlight, which I also mentioned in the interview. So if you want a bit of background, be sure to take a look at that. It's in the show notes. But it was certainly nice to get talk to him directly about the project, kind of hear his different ideas, and get a bit more information. So it's certainly a really, really unique approach to marketing. I think it's something that, if it gets executed as we all hope it will, it'll add a lot of value to not just Icon, but to blockchain as a whole. And so it was just a really in-depth interview and touched on a few different topics.
Agree. Look, the best part about it is, apart from learning a lot more about Brandon and his experience and exposure in the crypto space, we talked through Ion Icon, using Ion Icon as an example, how we could use the marketing platform, because everything, focus is NFTs at the moment, DeFi, etc. So this is a bit of a branch away from that stuff and really focuses around how it's going to integrate blockchain technology and how it enables in the marketing space. So we work through an example, and Brandon is obviously a software developer and he's extremely experienced. So it's we actually quiz him on that component and working with Icon. So I felt it was great conversation all around. And again, a lot of my takeaways with these interviews is if I have taken away something new or learned something new, and this was an interview that I did that and I learned a lot. So I feel there'll be a lot of aha moments for our listeners. So let's jump in. Let's take a look. Let's give it a listen and see what you'll think. Brandon, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Yeah, doing great. Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. Thanks for joining us, Brandon. We are excited to have you on, and what we want to talk about today is BountyCat, what I believe you have been working on, and just a bit of context around this. This is a marketing platform that is being built out. And if you go to the website, the first thing that stuck out to me was just how sleek the site was built and everything popped in the right way. Just the marketer's dream, I believe. And we're really excited to have you on the show to break down how you are going to integrate this platform using the blockchain technology, and not just any blockchain, Icon, using the best blockchain of them all, Icon. So thank you for coming on, and let's just jump right in. Tell us about how you got into crypto. What brought you into the crypto space?
Yeah. So I think I got into crypto officially probably sometime mid 2015. And oddly enough, I think I've told the story in various platforms over the last few years, but I got into crypto actually kind of because of poker. And I don't, if for those who are listening, or for you guys, if you're in the poker scene, a lot of those people are also really into crypto. And at the time, a lot of my I guess friends or acquaintances in that scene were looking for other ways to basically kind of maximize their winnings and their profits, and kind of got into that at the time. And it also was a good medium to um, basically cash out of online platforms where you might play. And I actually had won a decent sized tournament around the time and picked up my first Bitcoin sometime probably around mid 2015. And that kind of basically just got me going. And I really followed that up with an interest, kind of a real deep dive into Ethereum, and started mining Ethereum probably late 2015, early 2016, not long after I launched. And that really kind of just propelled me into the industry at large. Um, Unfortunately, I wasn't positioned well for the whole 2017 hype and all that, but was able to learn a lot during that period.
And not being positioned for it isn't necessarily a bad thing based on some of the outcomes that occurred to those who did kind of buy it, myself included. And I'm making a note to myself here that if I see you in one of the Icon Bet poker rooms in the future, I'm definitely going to turn around and leave right away, because it sounds like, I imagine you're probably a little bit better at poker than I am.
You know, I guess I would say it's probably been a long year and a half over the pandemic, because, I play online, but I have not been in a poker room because most of them are closed
Right.
for the last year and a half. So I maybe pretty rusty, but
But
definitely looking forward to.
That's
to
what I would expect you to say to lull me into complacency and think you're not good. That's how a shark operates.
deal me in.
Yeah. So I guess and I'll have you expand a little bit on that question in terms of how you stumbled upon Icon and kind of how you got into Icon.
Yeah. So I think it was, well, originally I'd gotten into Icon primarily just because I was just kind of like a fish out of water in the whole crypto space. Was, jumping into and out of projects pretty haphazardly, pretty much all, late 2017. I really decided to take the time to learn more about what I was investing in, be smarter about it. I think I originally kind of had this sense that, crypto was just going to be kind of an easy way to maximize, winnings and profits in poker. And it really occurred to me, especially, having been in software development and everything, that it was something that was going to be a little more lasting, especially as I started digging into it. And I don't remember how I actually heard of Icon, but it was actually the last project I've ever purchased a token for, and I've only ever bought Icon since. I've had other coins, and tokens for various projects in and out since then that I, had prior, but have never actually picked up another token since. But once I started learning about Icon, it was probably early to mid, I guess, 2018, once the market was kind of really deflating. I kind of realized what really kind of a gem of a project this really is, and the vision and the technology that they have really just kind of grabbed hold of me, and I wanted to do what I could to basically contribute to it and be a part of this network and this movement and this digital nation.
So you got it, you headed and started a P-Rep. Do you want to talk about kind of that process, when you decided to do that, and what you've been working on basically since that point?
Yeah. So it was, I guess, not too long after they had announced that the staking and the P-Rep system. So my memory's probably not accurate, but I want to say that was near summer of like 2018. And I was reading and following everything, and it just kind of occurred to me that with my background in software development, that I could potentially, use that and basically kind of build a team and basically contribute in that way to helping grow this network and being a part of it. And also, just having started to understand blockchain more, it really kind of came to me that there are ways to kind of bring blockchain into the business world in a way that's appealing to not only, just kind of like investors like us, but also to businesses and stuff that may not otherwise be exposed to, cryptocurrency and blockchain technology. So I actually had Foundry Box registered as a business well before that, but took that opportunity because the business was relatively just dormant to kind of reposition it and really focus it on Icon and make it a P-Rep team.
Very cool.
So I noticed as well. So you've done a few bits and pieces for the ecosystem. Could you just give us a few examples? Because I noticed you've got a site that aggregates a lot of the information around a lot of the network proposals and various other things.
Yeah, absolutely. So the initial project that I was working on right after kind of officially becoming a P-Rep during the whole candidate process was Iconolist. And the vision for Iconolist originally, I should say, was a platform where votes could be kind of centralized, categorized and analyzed by the community. And I did almost kind of as a misunderstanding of the approach and the vision from the foundation at the time. I wanted to also kind of make it the de facto voting platform Icon community. But obviously they were working on stuff behind the scenes, and unfortunately there was some miscommunication on both our parts. I think because I was asking how this looks with various members of the community of the Icon Foundation rather, and unfortunately it wasn't clear that they were already kind of building towards that. But all that said, it's not a big deal. I just really wanted to kind of build a site where people could go and really understand what P-Reps were doing and kind of working on and trying to correlate all that data. And I have mixed emotions about it because I feel like there's some level of information there that could have been useful and some functionality, but they've had a hard time, I guess, getting the community kind of involved with that application. And since then, there's been several actually, brilliant projects that have come out that kind of supersede the functionality there. But I have some ideas on how to enhance that in the future.
Yeah, look,
Um,
and the one reason I just mentioned it, I was actually looking at it before, and it's still aggregating and pulling a lot of information that is very much up to date. So I just thought to ask you about it. But one of the trends I've noticed, definitely from the initial, obviously when we were growing, there was okay, if we're building this, everyone start building different pieces. But you can kind of see in this aggregation of what's going on in the ecosystem. Everyone's trying to recreate some kind of aspect of this. Katina's trying to do it. I know Reliant Node build out their own little system that tells all the projects, etc., etc. So, thanks for that. It was good to get a bit of background. So, today we're here to talk about BountyCat. Okay, so tell us about this. Where how it came about, what inspired it, what are you hoping to achieve with BountyCat? So imagine me a month ago had not heard about BountyCat. So let's imagine our listeners have not heard about it. How would you explain it?
so basically an elevator pitch, right?
Bingo, bingo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So BountyCat, in a nutshell, is basically an incentivized marketing platform, where the incentives are blockchain based. And the whole idea behind BountyCat is really to try and generate and drive what we would all consider kind of viral marketing campaigns around products and services for businesses. Um, Obviously, there's a fair bit of complexity kind of behind the scenes and how it's all put together. But long story short is, the idea is, especially these days, not entirely unique, but I feel like it's a welcome addition and still a viable business approach. And it's obviously a welcome addition to the Icon community and network, trying to kind of bring our own brand of, what maybe other projects are kind of doing. You got like basic attention token, and I've seen some similar marketing platforms out there with incentive based marketing approaches. But I feel like BountyCat's unique in several ways, and primarily because the incentive mechanism is closely tied to the icon token ICX, and by kind of leveraging some of the applications that are upcoming, in the network, we can kind of facilitate a end-to-end user experience that is largely, blockchain based. Some of the infrastructure won't be entirely decentralized, but it definitely will allow businesses and individuals who may not be comfortable with blockchain and cryptocurrency to leverage the marketing services, and benefit from owning and participating in the Icon network. Yeah, and so I was just going to kind of lead off with that, to the idea originally. Actually, I had it was it's been a while. I actually prototyped the BountyCat idea independent from any of the blockchain stuff almost a decade ago. And it's and there's a fair amount to talk about there, so I won't draw it out too long. But long story short, I got kind of discouraged because of some of the financing mechanisms and some of the legal loopholes that I would have to traverse in order to actually manage a centralized kind of asset on behalf of companies and businesses. And it occurred to me, probably not long after I became a P-Rep, how suited this idea really is for blockchain. And then when Bridge was announced, and later, balanced, it just kind of sealed the deal, and the capability of the Icon network to facilitate the payment side of it, and made it way more achievable. So
I guess to kind of give a good explanation of how it works, let's pretend, let's kind of use the scenario. Let's pretend that I on Icon podcast, we just really want to really get to expand the number of listeners we have, and so if we say we want to use BountyCat, kind of what would that look like for us, and what would be the process that kind of we would use as the marketers and the promoters?
yeah, so basically what BountyCat does is it allows promoters to create marketing campaigns, which we call bounties. The idea, of course, being that you're kind of placing a bounty on somebody to come and engage with your product or service. But through the going through the web application, you would basically go and go through the tutorial, or not the tutorial, but sorry, the wizard that I'm building to step you through creating a promotion. And there's various configurable assets, or I mean components to creating one, a promotion that being. And once you were ready, you would be able to purchase bounty tokens through the platform and fund your promotion. And depending on how you wanted to integrate it, you could potentially just offer up basically like redemption codes to users, or one of our initial integrations will actually be with like YouTube, where users can interact and watch a video and then receive a bounty in the form of the bounty token, of course, which is I guess we haven't touched on that, but the bounty token is a USD pegged asset, which is based on the IRC2 token standard from Icon, and that basically carries a real value. And any bounty points that a user would earn, of course, have a real value and can be extracted either as Icon tokens or any of the other supported assets that will initially include USD pegged assets from the bridge dollar, and eventually looking for balanced dollars and potentially other stable coins and other assets that are on the network down the road.
So, when you're creating the campaign, I assume some of the parameters you can set are, this is a campaign that's going to last 1 week, 1 month, 6 months, 2 days.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So by standard, and some of the I guess the second phase development will kind of expand upon the availability of different formats for promotions as well as different integration options. So, but what I'm targeting for the initial release will basically allow users to create what I would call a static promotion, where in you may, a traditional marketing campaign, may be something that was ongoing. Typically a company would come along and say, well, we want to set aside a $5,000 a month budget, and that's going to be marketing, and it's just a recurring budget, and a marketing firm will kind of pick that contract up and run different ads and stuff. So with BountyCat, the first campaign option that will be out there will be basically kind of like a preset, prepaid, incentivized campaign where you could configure the duration, and you will have to kind of decide how many units you want to make available for the campaign. And the reason for that is because the all the information is locked on the blockchain, so it's all backed by Icon's smart contracts, whereas you don't, there's no trust necessarily in BountyCat to pay the end user or to facilitate the transaction. The trust level really is just in transmitting the data from one point to the next, on the blockchain, and the smart contracts themselves will facilitate paying the end users in whatever their assets that they choose to receive them in. So yeah, it's kind of a complicated process, and I definitely feel like I need to work on kind of distilling it, but hopefully that kind of drives some of it there.
A little while back, I kind of, I discovered the project and did kind of a lot of digging into it and bugging Brandon on a few things, but I did a fairly lengthy write up for the Icon Spotlight kind of mini series that I've written for. So we'll include that in the show notes as well, and I think that kind of helps distill it down into a more practical understanding of kind of what the steps are and what it would potentially look like. And granted, it's a few months old, so it might be outdated by now based on kind of whatever direction it might have pivoted in at all. And I assume there's some tinkering you're doing, but I think at the end of the day, it kind of has the basic premise in there. So certainly encourage listeners to check that out. Like I said, in the show notes.
So I want to just focus on this a little bit more. Let's keep building on this Iron Icon example and what you talked about. You mentioned connection to YouTube, so I'll just create a Hail Mary scenario over here. We've used the platform to visit. It sounds like initially it will be fairly scripted how you run through it, which is great. The goal of what we want to do is increase our audience size, right? So we come onto the platform, set a bounty of, say, bounty tokens of, since they're pegged to the dollar, which I did not know, so that's a great bit of information, and a bit of a variation there from BAT, because BAT is a token that is priced by market speculation and demand and etc. But what's great to hear about this is the BountyCat token is actually representation of pegged to the dollar, which removes all the essentially users who get paid may get a token that's worth 30 cents one day and next to nothing the next day due to the volatile crypto market. So this was a great little call out you made there. So coming back to my example, I digress. We've used the platform. I've said, let's say I put aside $600 for promotion, and what I want to do is actively grow the user base, get more listeners on the YouTube version of the podcast. So how does that work? So once I pay that, and then we've got the what are they called? The bounty hunters that come in, and they can. How does that component then piece together? How do they go and start watching it? Do they have to watch the entire YouTube clip to get paid? Can they just skip through it? How would all of that work?
Right. Yeah, no, these are all great questions. And one clarification, I'm not sure if it's terribly important, but certainly people that would be listening may be interested in. So the bounty token is pegged to the USD. However, it's not like each token is not equal to $1. It's actually pegged. Each bounty token is a smaller portion of a dollar at 5 cents.
Okay.
And yeah, the reason that that is done is basically to allow smaller campaigns to be run to affect wider, bases, and give promoters a little more flexibility in how they operate, the promotions. But to kind of highlight the process a little bit more, bounties are actually structured around kind of two payment pools. One is the bounty itself, which can be redeemed based on a set of basic rules. So when you're creating your promotion, in this particular case, you would say, I want them to view this content or listen to this content, and the BountyCat will facilitate all the necessary technology to basically say, you would paste a link to this YouTube video. The platform, it will basically monitor how much of the video is watched, and the expectation is that they will watch the bulk of it or all of it before they would redeem it. But after watching that, since the platform would be handling the monitoring of whether or not they are watching it, once that was completed, then basically BountyCat itself would send a transaction to the network to send the payment to whatever user was watching that video. And one thing to note is that because we have to basically make sure that people aren't kind of trying to defraud the system, bounty hunters are required to register. It's not. This is something where we want to protect promoters as much as the end user. So we have to be able to at least, say that with relative certainty that each user is a unique user and a real person. But that said, the other payment pool is kind of devoted to sharing promotions, where users will be able to share on integrated social media platforms, which will initially be Twitter. We're looking at, obviously doing like Facebook and Google, Instagram, the different platforms. But if they share a link and a little bit of information, on their Twitter or whatever other platform, they will actually earn tokens based on the bounty as well. And at the end of the day, the promoter gets to decide how that's distributed. And there's no requirement, if as a promoter, if you said, I want to just run a campaign where I just want people to share it, and they wouldn't necessarily earn, something for completing an action, such as watching a video or signing up for a website or clicking a link or whatever. But you may be able to bring more people. You may I guess get more mileage out of your promotion if you kind of mix the payment pools a little bit and offer up incentives for not only sharing the promotion but for engaging with it as well.
Yeah, look, that's brilliant, and it was probably exactly what I was trying to get to the bottom of. So, you know, we build the promotion. I actually like the idea of the bounty hunters registering because it's twofold. Once they register, what's in it for them is, well, they can, run through the bounty, but they can also, part of the bounty is sharing. So Eye on Icon, using that example, they've watched it, they've gotten their bounty, but part of it is also sharing on social media and how many, likes, etc., new views they can get through their shares, which they get rewards for. But then from your platform, all of a sudden you have all these registered users, and say a new anyone comes across, like Equality, for example, Icongrapher, they want to kick off some kind of marketing campaign. You've already got this huge user base of bounty hunters that would automatically go, oh, here's some other earning opportunities, and let's spread the love over here. So I guess what I'm trying to, one of my big worries always, and with the blockchain space especially, is our communities are very tight, right? So everything on Icon, everyone's promoting to each other. Getting new blood, per se, happens during bull markets when prices start to rise. But what your platform actually enables is taking that inside community that is so passionate about Icon, and, Iconists can run campaigns through it, and it encourages them to bring in the new blood, not just because of price, but actually listening to the content of whatever is being advertised through the platform. That's what I love about it. And have I given good context there? Is that a good takeaway? I hope.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, and that's actually I think you've kind of really solidified the whole vision behind BountyCat, and I think that's actually kind of a good segue into why BountyCat why I would choose Icon in a way for BountyCat. I don't want to lead out you on any questions or anything, but
No, lead away.
there's
Well, no, I was about to ask. You've obviously, this isn't a small task. You're building a pretty serious application here. So, between your other kind of icon endeavors, but particularly this one, we're interested to get a kind of perspective on what it's like to kind of develop an icon. What are the, why it has advantages over other blockchains. For non-tech people, I'm technical on coding and stuff like this, but obviously not as much as you are or a lot of others in the ecosystem. And we've talked with Andrew Burns in the past, and he gave us a little insight. But we always like to hear from people who are actually building on Icon. Why it is a really good place to build on. So if you want to kind of we'll go down a little bit of a different trail for a little bit if you just kind of want to dive into that for a little bit.
Now a quick message from our sponsors. IconBet has 9 games live in its casino, with poker coming soon. Open source decentralized gaming, no deposits, play straight from your wallet. IconBet, made by players, for players.
Sure, yeah. I mean, so as far as why I guess why I decided, I mean, with Icon, to build BountyCat is not really from the technical side of it. It's actually more about kind of the vision Icon has had, and I just saw a lot of potential in the long-term possibilities of integrating some of the interoperability that Icon is bringing to the space, and it really seemed like there was some long-term, I guess, potential to, well, I'm repeating myself, but long-term potential to access other communities with a kind of generalized marketing tool and platform. So I think, that was probably one of the biggest components, but there's an inherent kind of chicken and egg problem with this issue, or with this, with trying to launch an application or even a business kind of like this. And it was one of the other challenges I really had with trying to get the initial idea, even though it's kind of evolved over the years, on its legs, and that was that, it's hard to bring promoters in if you don't have a user base to, advertise to. But if you don't have advertisers or promoters, you don't really have a user base or a way to interest your user base. And, Icon and blockchain in general, just of basically incentivizing people ahead of time, let's say, through, I don't know, airdrips, that kind of stuff, is a possibility, or really just kind of having a community that is supporting, or supportive of me and this project as kind of like a tight-knit group, can help kind of promote and grow the application and kind of push it past that initial, I guess, hump, that you may have. But the technical side of it too is definitely, I will say this: I don't have a whole lot of perspective because Icon's really the first blockchain I've done any development on. So I can't say, well, it's better than Ethereum or whatever.
Right.
I've dabbled in some of the other technologies, but ultimately, I've found that the development experience has been pretty good, with Icon. Python's relatively easy. It's widely accessible, plenty of documentation and support out there. And while it hasn't always been highly accessible, I would say from an official standpoint from the foundation, I would say that over the last 6 to 12 months, it's greatly improved, and I'm expecting that to get even better with Icon 2.0 on the horizon. So,
is there a particular improvement that kind of stands out, or anything, or is it just kind of been more a bunch of gradual, more incremental, adjustments and improvements and things like that kind of added up to a bigger benefit.
In regards to Icon 2.
And just in terms of how you kind of mentioned over the last 6 to 12 months, the development, I guess, say environment or
Oh yeah, yeah.
at least the support has gotten better. Kind of how if there's been anything specific that's made that easier.
I mean, I wouldn't say that there's like any one major change. It's
Okay.
probably more of a minor kind of incremental change. But I would say that having like the Icon Republic website kind of correlating and collating more information together, and kind of having the accessibility to some of the other projects that have already launched, and I personally learn a lot more by actually kind of getting my hands dirty, going into
Right.
like the smart contracts, really kind of tearing them apart and trying things and stuff. So having access to just those bits, and of course you have some of the team members and community members that have been fantastic. So Spleen is one that stands out, of course. um, and very, having teams like iBriz have been really good. Of course, we have Icon Nation, Icon Station, various other teams have really been helpful in that regard.
So,
So, and then as we gear into Icon 2.0, do you intend to kind of launch after or that, or how are you envisioning kind of integrating Icon 2.0, or are you integrating into Icon 2.0? Kind of what's that look like as you continue to build?
So ultimately, I'm still trying to plan a launch for May of this year. So we're looking at 2 months and 2020 or 2021. But the kind of the overall vision for BountyCat isn't that it just kind of ends there. Ultimately, it's a project that I will continue to work on and enhance, and really am looking for this whole thing to kind of just be a platform to continue to develop this product. That said, I don't think Icon 2.0 is necessarily going to make any functional changes in that regard, mainly because most of the smart contracts have already been developed, and are just undergoing refinement at this point. So there's no requirement or necessity to redesign or redevelop them. But in the future, my assumption is that when Java is released, that it may be easier for me to develop new scores or new functionality and stuff on the chain using that technology, which I'm definitely more excited about, because even though I've gotten pretty comfortable with Python, Java is way more accessible and something I'm a lot more comfortable with.
Is there anything you're hoping to see improvement on as far as the kind of the development enterprise, or something you're hoping that the foundation or the team kind of is able to improve upon in the near future?
Um, Ultimately, I would just say more documentation, kind of leading more by
Mhm.
example. Some of the documentation for the existing system kind of is ambiguous or isn't as fully defined or fleshed out as it needs to be. Um, but I do feel like it's slowly getting better, and I feel like in a lot of ways, that maybe the team is kind of more invested and focused on delivering on 2.0 for that kind of developer experience. And I'm I I guess without any evidence, I'm kind of expecting that to improve a lot when that comes around.
Got it.
so Brandon, I want to just take a moment and coming back to the scenarios, I want to pick your brain, and I'm putting you on the spot here. So we've taken Eye of Icon, right, and just given a very quick rundown. Could you elaborate on various scenarios where BountyCat could be used as promoters? And my my goal around this question is for everyone listening. There could be people who are running their businesses, working, etc., etc. I want them to hear variations of how the platform could be used and to have an aha moment in their brain, going, "Oh, okay, we could use it like this." So we've used eye on icon, not off icon, on icon. What else? What other scenarios could you talk through very quickly at a high level?
Yeah. So the whole vision for the BountyCat wasn't really to be kind of like just a digital, tool for marketing digital content or anything. It certainly is suited well for that, and I think that'll be a great kind of segue into other adaptations for the project. But my long term vision, and actually some of the inspiration from this project actually came from the advent of Groupon, which is not as big as it used to be, but I'm sure everyone is at least somewhat familiar with the concept of Groupon. But the idea, the real, I could envision retailers of various sizes, mom and pop shops to larger companies with multiple locations or whatever, launching promotions for specific product launches or even sales, and basically creating promotions where people can be incentivized to come in and buy a specific product or partake of a specific event. Um, and there's ways that various ways that they may decide they want to kind of integrate a promotion like that. But it could be as simple as scanning a barcode or like a QR code when you get to the event location, or it may be as like if you purchase this product, you get a redeemable code, or if give your account, or if you scan something on mobile app, which will be coming eventually, you'll be able to redeem bounty for that. And one thing I think I would like to really quickly talk about too is the other side of the whole promotions part of it. And we have the bounties, and that's where obviously promoters can create these promotions to incentivize users to earn bounty tokens, which obviously they're earning money for participating in these promotions. But the other half of the BountyCat platform is also the rewards side, which allows promoters to also create what I'm calling rewards. That that name may change, but where basically somebody can use their bounty tokens to buy or to purchase, I guess, or trade for a different incentive from a promoter. So a promoter might say, well, obviously we're running this advertising promotion as a bounty, but we also have this coupon that's going to get you one free product. And, they could say, well, you can earn this, or you can get this coupon for 500 bounty points. And that's also kind of another way to bring in customers or potential clients or users without having to require them to like watch an ad or participate in some other promotion if they already have bounty for any other reason.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay. Yeah.
So you mentioned a release date, ideally, nothing, but don't want to nail anything down too hard. But at least looking at May, do you think you'll have a public beta? I know some of the other applications that are launching soon are doing something similar. Do you envision something like that, or how do you plan to kind of roll it out?
Yeah, so I mean, just to be upfront, it's actually we're a pretty small team. I do all the development myself, and then I have one other team member who helps me with kind of the marketing and promoting side. So a lot of the technical side of it is still highly dependent on Bridge, because I can't really facilitate payments from the potential clients I'm going to be targeting, which are really in addition to some of the digital medium kind of like promoters that might be interested in using it, but also really kind of looking at like small businesses and something where some of these promoters might be able to offer bounties in physical locations. And for that, we would have to facilitate, having actual payments in fiat. So I'm a little kind of, stuck on being able to integrate properly with Bridge, which hasn't been released yet. So that's really kind of the biggest hangup, I'm having. So I want to make sure that there's plenty of time to test the integrations and all that
Of course.
stuff. But so hopefully May, but I will absolutely say that it could easily be by the later this summer or early fall if it's something that takes longer. So
right.
That's a real good call out, and for all our listeners, Bridge adds this simplicity layer for everyone, and that isn't unique to the crypto ecosystem. So, your project, from what you've said, Brandon, is very dependent on this to be successful. So, yeah, look, good call out. You don't want to rush this stuff, and that, from what I understand, the bridge aspect hasn't been released. It's kind of ongoing, and we'll see it come out officially when OMM launches as well, because that's basically, from what I understand, is when it's kicking off. It's being tightly integrated with OMM. So yeah, that'll be good. Can't wait for that integration. And
yeah, that was. I mean, that project is really kind of the catalyst for letting me, or that allowed me to want to try and do this. I think my initial attempts at this years ago were stifled by trying to figure out financing and all the regulatory stuff. So building this on top of Icon and having access to something like that is, I can't stress how beneficial that is. So people might be underestimating the importance of that application. So
well,
So do you have any kind of closing thoughts or anything you want to send the listeners off with as far as whether it's related to BountyCat or anything else that's on your mind?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say that I think BountyCat is definitely one of the applications that is going to be kind of a long-term player. I'm not really looking to have this be something that kind of explodes and right away, but I'm really hoping that in the next year that it can be kind of a resource for people outside of the crypto space to kind of get exposed to cryptocurrency, blockchain, and specifically Icon, and just really working towards that endeavor with this, and hoping that we can achieve that.
Very cool.
Yeah, look, thank you, Brandon. I agree. I'm very excited. I love this. The community aspect is very big in crypto, so I love the last comment you made, long-term goal, because as we start and have a few successful campaigns, future campaigns that come on are just going to leverage off the pool of bounty hunters you have registered in the platform, and it's a domino effect. So really looking forward to the release, and I bet the Icon community will be on there. The reason we quiz so much about Iron Icon, obviously you can see where my brain's at and how I want to use your platform. and
Yeah, absolutely.
So really excited about that.
I definitely appreciate the opportunity to kind of give an example, because it's one of those things where I think people may not quite see it right away because there's several moving parts to it. So perfect way to approach it.
Agree. Excellent. Brandon, thank you so much for coming on. I know you are working on a CPS component, the relay. I do want to have you on and talk through that as well, what that little piece is about and what it will enable for the Icon ecosystem. But today was the day of BountyCat. That's what we wanted to focus on, and I feel we've really done that. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
Absolutely, and thank you for your time, you guys. I really appreciate it.
Take care.
Take care.
All right, thanks. You too.
Okay, and there you have it. So that was a great little chat with Brandon. Iconographer, what were some of your takeaways?
Yeah, this is, like I said, this is kind of a project I've been pretty excited about, just because it is really outside the box. I think when I was writing that article, I was kind of chatting with him, just kind of get a sense of, hey, have you seen anything? Are you basing this off something? You have inspiration from it for something? He obviously mentioned Groupon, but I can see a bit of a connection there, but I think it's still really, really, pretty unique. A lot of the applications being built in crypto right now and on Icon, they're iterations of something that kind of exists already, right? There's you take OMM, it's kind of an iteration and its own unique approach and different take of compound. Balance is kind of like maker. So there's incremental innovation in that standpoint. In this case, it's something that's really doesn't have, as far as I can tell, much of a precedent. And so from that standpoint, if it gets implemented and executed as Brandon's vision kind of entails, I think it could be a really, really unique tool for marketers and not, obviously those entities that want to promote within the blockchain space, they're kind of the lower hanging fruit, but and they can kind of serve as a use case for it. But if it really does work effectively, I could see traditional businesses hopping at this, and I think he plans to make it pretty viable over the long term and keep working on it. So if it moves in the right direction, it could be pretty significant for Icon and draw a lot of people onto our blockchain.
Yeah, agree. Look, I loved that hearing him say that this has been an idea he's had for a long time, but there until Icon came about and his knowledge of got exposure to blockchain, he didn't see it viable or possible, and then all of a sudden it became a reality. I loved that aspect. I love one other thing that I kind of summarized a couple of times through the chat was the community aspect. To me, that was a real aha moment. For this to be successful, yes, the goal with Bridge, it can integrate, anyone can come and use it, but really this gives the Icon community such a big chance where we can get behind some of our own protocols and use this platform to kind of push it into other communities, let's hope, and get rewarded for it by doing that. Like, we see a lot of these tweets, etc., but Balanced, Iron Icon, various other opportunities exist to use BountyCat, and then all the Icon community tweet and watch and promote it and get rewarded with the BountyCat tokens, which we also learnt was pegged to the dollar. So they're not, well, not dollar per dollar, but in 5-cent increments. So lots of cool little things there, and I'm really excited about the platform. One other little part that happened post-interview was, the website, I mentioned it's quite sleek and live. We'll include it in the show notes, but you can actually register and run through what's been built out. Obviously, it's not live where, you get the bounties, etc., but the interface and how it's going to... well, the user interface and that feel we can actually run through. So I didn't know that, and I'm excited to post podcast, post editing once it's out, to actually go on and sign up and use it to see how it looks and what you can do with it.
Yeah, I'd certainly encourage everyone to kind of play around with it and get a little bit of a sneak preview. Again, it's all test data, so nothing's actually happening, but gives you it might help you kind of get a better sense of what the product is and how it works and how it can be advantageous for you and us and Icon as a whole.
Great. Okay. Well, that's all I have. Anything else, Iconographer?
Nope, that's all I have too.
Great. Everyone, thank you so much for tuning in, listening. If you found it a great episode, please share it around. Even if you didn't share it around, someone may. I know I did. So thanks again for listening, everyone. Take care.